Hi, I'm Kay, and this is Habit Inquisition. Have you ever wondered why there are people who get a zillion times more accomplished than you do? Or, on the other hand, there are people that don't seem to ever do anything or accomplish anything? The reason why is because they have entirely different habits, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, in order to understand why people's habits differ so much and what they accomplish differs so much, you have to understand how habits work. In order to understand why these differences exist, we first need to understand how habits actually work. And of course, they work through our brains, and our brain recognizes patterns. And habits are recognized patterns in our brain. That works for both positive and negative habits, by the way. For example, I used to smoke after dinner. When you're eating, in my case, when I was eating, my brain would recognize the pattern that, oh, now I'm eating, I will need that cigarette afterwards, or it tells me that I need that cigarette afterwards, which of course isn't the case because I wasn't physically addicted to cigarettes. What's interesting about this is that it doesn't tell you to smoke while you're eating. Like when you have a chunk of broccoli in your mouth, it won't tell you, okay, smoke now. No, when you finish eating, it will tell you to smoke. And it will tell you that you have to smoke, not you should or you could, you have to smoke now. So if you tell yourself often enough that you need that cigarette, or you do it often enough in the same pattern so that your brain tells it directly to your body, this will become your reality. And while you think it just happens, it's actually a process that you can actively form. Now, let's talk about how habits are formed. So basically, that's how you form habits. You just do it often enough. Now, the example I brought with smoking is obviously a negative habit, but you can do exactly the same thing with positive habits. Just do it often enough, force yourself to do it often enough, and it will stick. The problem with this is that good habits only pay off in the long run. Usually, they're a pain in the short run, and that's why a lot of people don't follow through with them. What's important is that you do it one by one. If you want to establish a jogging routine, for example, force yourself to do it, focus on it, and after a week, maybe after a month, if you do something incredibly hard, maybe even after only 3 months, but with jogging it should be far less. You just try to implement that, then you move on, then you do something else. Now, it's a little trickier with bad habits. You would assume that you can just force yourself to stop doing that stuff, and then it works the exact opposite way of forming good habits. Unfortunately, that's not exactly true because it's incredibly hard to just not do whatever bad habit you are doing, to just not have a cigarette after dinner because you think it's your body that wants the cigarette. So for most people, it just doesn't work to quit having that cigarette. However, what we can do is, if we don't like the music our neighbor plays, we just play louder music to not hear what the neighbor plays. What I'm saying with this is that instead of just trying to quit smoking, we try to replace the bad habit. Instead of going for a quick fag when we're in stress, for example, we just do something else. Could be meditation, could be a breathing exercise, whatever. And once we understand that, we can actually replace bad habits exactly the same way as we form good habits. Whenever that inner devil tells you to smoke, you do the replacing habit. As I said, the breathing exercise, for example. And that way you form a new good habit while getting rid of a bad old one. Now, of course, this is easier said than done. And I'm not saying it is easy, don't get me wrong here. What you have to realize, however, is that habits have power over your daily routine. Now, your choice is, do you want to take control of your habits and in doing so, taking control of your daily routine so you can improve a little bit every day and move towards the direction of what you want to be or who you want to be in the future, or you just let the bad habits creep in because they creep in unconsciously and they take over your routine. Now, don't worry, you don't have to change a lot now, because all your pre-existing good and bad habits have already formed a routine. And from this routine, you have to take little steps toward the ideal that you have. I don't know what ideal that is, but you want to move into that direction, right? So what you do is you pick a bad habit, that you want to replace, and you pick a good habit that you would like to have but haven't yet implemented into your daily routine, and then you replace the bad habit, one step at a time. Now, one last tip. It's not enough to just say, okay, I shouldn't drink, I shouldn't smoke, I should probably lose a little weight. That's not enough. You have to actually want it. And a lot of the time, a psychological shift is needed before you actually implement that. Because usually you form your bad habits for some reason as well. Like you try to avoid some reality, there is some pain in your life, and these are usually habits that you form to avoid reality or similar. And so you need to actually be ready in your mind to start that. But there is a simple question you can ask about this. Do I want this enough to follow through? I'm Kay, and this is Habit Inquisition. See you next time.